WGR Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. Welcome into the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia, where the voice of the Rochester fan is heard. Pull up a stool and join us at 866-4326. This is WGR Rochester, and the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia is on now.
2 hours of sports talk excellence for you here in the Flower City. You have found us. Welcome on into the Sports Bar. Gene Battaglia with you. 585-866-4326. That is our phone number. And it's brought to you by Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, the award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com. As sure, if you're looking at your phone today, yeah, there's going to be a lot of pretty pictures here. It's today being the ribbon-cutting ceremony, Highmark Stadium, a stadium that technically I would say that is ours, right? We all should kind of take ownership of that. Not saying that, if you didn't buy a PSL, no, like that is our revenue put to use there. I'm not complaining about it, but hopefully everybody will have a chance if they want to be afforded the opportunity to go check that out. We'll be talking a little later on the show today as we're lining some things up. Joe Yerdon, Bleacher Report, will be joining us. Noted hockey, as a lot of rumors out there. We will have definitive things by next week, July 1st, start of free agency. We'll have the draft coming up Friday night, but we'll pick the brain of Joe Yerdon in terms of the Buffalo Sabres and the rest of the NHL. We have some NHL news today, too, to get to. Joe Yerdon coming up bottom of this hour. We're on many platforms, 95.7 FM, AM 950, always streaming for free inside the Odyssey app, YouTube and Twitch also. Just like, subscribe. We are there. If you want to write in, hey, we're on every social media platform practically. The easiest way that we'll catch you is on X at WGR Rochester. The team is all here. Terrible take, Timmy, today, if you're watching on YouTube. That is that a white hot hat?
Yeah,
it is. I don't. Wow, I am not up to speed on all my Red Wing.
One of the few that has them, as far as I know. I don't see many of those wandering the stadium.
No, what they were pushing the other night was the Coco Loco gear, which actually kind of looks like Buffalo Bills gear.
Yeah, I don't have any of that stuff. Yeah. I don't know. It's just not my.
No, it's one of the alternate identities that the Red Wings kind of use there. So yeah, Wings beginning a series tonight in Charlotte. Dan Drummey, he's welcome to kind of sit in the studio with us. You watch all these other big podcasts, right? Whether that's or whether it's a TV show like McAfee or Laboratory, and they got guys all over the place. I invite Dan in to sit with us. He doesn't want to. He wants to go across the hall and work quietly and make sure he's getting everything in order, which I totally respect. Do whatever is best for you. Again, you're welcome to join us, 585-866-4326. Let's start off with the new stadium. I think the first thing when you see these images from whoever it is you follow on social media, and you'll see it tonight on the local news, you'll see it, whatever website you go to, like, here are pictures of what the stadium looks like. And for the first time, here are some pictures in the concourse. Here's some pictures of beautiful artwork that is up, and you can kind of observe. The Bills today put out a little preview of what their locker room looks like. And this looks kind of like a new age locker room. That old locker room in Buffalo, yeesh. I mean, what Highmark was built in 73, it looked like it was stuck in 73. This looks like state-of-the-art, and that should get the guys fired up. I would just wonder, though, as you walk into this stadium, the first time, I think, for you as the fan, you're going to be impressed, right? You're going to go in, and you're just going to kind of take it in. And maybe that's the blue and the red scrimmage. Maybe that's a preseason game. Maybe you're there for the Lions game or another game. But my point is that stadium going to bring the same juice from the fan base that it did across the street? I'm just trying to picture myself walking into this stadium, and if I was going to sit outside, maybe I'm having one less cold one. Maybe I'm not going all together because I can't afford it. And the people that are going, are paying a lot more. And the people that are paying a lot more, maybe it's somebody that bought them and can't use it and I'm dishing it off. It's just something that I'm wondering if this stadium is going to be that tough place to play for opposing quarterbacks and teams coming in. And the way that it's presented to us is, and basically that it is such a vertical kind of pitch there in terms of the seating arrangement over you, where before it was big, but it was more spread out. That, hey, maybe 60,000 will sound like 80,000, like in the old stadium. And maybe that noise will kind of bounce back off of the canopied roof. Isn't that crazy to think we didn't have a roof on the old stadium? Like, compare that to the baseball stadium here. And I've been in Rochester long enough to remember what a massive controversy that was. Hey, here's our new ballpark that's going to be in downtown. Wow, that's great. And then you got to see it like, wait a second, where did the roof go? Oh, well, budget, blah, blah, blah. Silver Stadium had a roof. And now, how many years later, 30 years later, basically, we still have only part of the roof there. But in Buffalo, it didn't seem to bother anybody. It's just something I'm wondering. And we'll hope to talk to one of our insiders coming up next hour here in the Sports Bar about the Bills Stadium. Quick note on the NBA. Yay, Giannis got traded. Fantastic. I feel sorry for Milwaukee in a way. It's like, all right, you've got to rebuild, and this is the problem in a small market, right? That ultimately the destiny for these guys is I'm going to outgrow the market, and that's what happened with Giannis. That there's only so much you can do in a market like that. This isn't the NFL, and he'll go to Miami. Whether it'll work in Miami, I don't know. But I kind of remember Miami knocking off Milwaukee when Miami was an 8, Milwaukee was a 1. So let me just kind of point that out that, hey, for everybody that is bemoaning Giannis leaving Milwaukee, he won 1. And give him credit for that 1, right? It wasn't the pandemic year. It was the year coming after the pandemic. And they faced a Phoenix team that was, you look back now, it's like, okay, that was just kind of a blip, right? You thought Phoenix was going to be this upstart team with Booker and Ayton and Chris Paul still around. And no, that was there and gone. Blinking of eyes. So, again, like you could say that about a lot of championships, but that was the move. It had to happen last night because tonight we have the NBA draft. And that concludes our NBA talk for this hour. The NHL talk, I think, is fascinating. And I'm putting myself out there because in the NFL, you're familiar with how things work, right? Meaning, hey, the NFL free agency will open up coming up on the Wednesday of it's a random Wednesday in March, but legal tampering will begin the Monday before. And then all of a sudden these offers come in and these announcements. And by the time you get to the actual free agency, everything's kind of over with. Like, it's like, all right, you get to day 2. All right, what's left over? Why would hockey or any other sport be any different? Like the league is going to come down. When was the last time in the window of season ending to the beginning of free agency did some team get their hands slapped in the NHL? I don't think that's ever happened.
Mitch Marner, sort of. Not slapped, but there was some insinuation that Vegas was tampering, and they investigated it, but of course found nothing.
But found nothing, right? So it's about the closest. And why would you want to slap anybody's hand? I don't know, what difference does it make at this point? The season's over. Let the business begin. And where I'm going with this is I believe Alex Tuck knows exactly where he's going and for how much. That there isn't any suspense here. Now, like everything, there's no 100% definitive, but it would be maybe contingent on something else. Like every team, I would think, has their master plan. They're all looking at it right now. Let me see what that is. Right on the whiteboard. And maybe in Buffalo, it's we're going to go get Connor Hellebuck, and to make this work, we're going to trade Bo Byram, and we're going to get a forward and let Alex Tuck walk. Okay, well, what if that Hellebuck dream doesn't happen? Well, then we have plan B, and then you have plan C, and you have plan D. But the same thing would be like with free agency. You don't have an unlimited fund. You do have this thing called the salary cap, and there's a rumor, too, that Tampa Bay could be interested in Alex Tuck. Now, that's if Alex Tuck goes somewhere west, I don't think anybody's upset. But if he stays in division, look out. That's kind of where I'm at with that. But the idea that there hasn't been any agreement with Alex Tuck would lead you to the natural conclusion that he's not coming back. Just not. Like, what would be the change of heart up till this point? Again, I could be wrong, but this is just my read on this, that Alex Tuck's agent, if he's any agent worth his weight in salt, we know exactly, okay, here's offer A, offer B, and offer C. And just like when you're buying a house, one may be contingent, the other may not. The other may be just kind of conceptual, but at least you have some sort of idea, and this is what Buffalo is offering. Now, the one thing Buffalo could offer is that 8th year. I don't think the Sabres should do that. Like, not for a player of this age. Now, again, if Alex Tuck ends up leading, you're losing a lot in the leadership category. Alex Tuck was somebody who it's a Thursday night win over the Kings in January. This after a Tuesday night win where you put up 7 against Toronto, 5-point night for Rasmus Dahlin. It's like, all right, we're really rolling. And now it's the first time after that Toronto game you're like, wow, this team could make the playoffs. And then Alex Tuck says the thing that, wow, you really can't say that. Sure we can. No, we're not now in this to make the playoffs. We want to win the Stanley Cup. And then it's one of those like, but why not? And gosh darn it, like the Sabres were what? Game 7 end of regulation? We don't talk about that enough because, if you're a Sabre fan, it's probably painful. Like all the little things that could have happened and had gone the other way. I don't think ultimately the Sabres get by Carolina. I think ultimately, now that you look back, that might have been a different brand there of hockey that ultimately might have been too tough for Buffalo. But my gosh, they were, technically of the last 5 still standing in the NHL. That's quite a run. Now, how do you get over the hump? When we talked to Joe Yerdon bottom this hour, I cannot wait because let me ask you, Tim. The Hellebuck noise, is it noise? Is this just insider crap? Meaning this is going to grab headlines. Here's a goalie we consider, I believe, the best in the game today. He's up in Winnipeg. Cold, dark Winnipeg. Get him to a bigger market. Well, Buffalo's not a bigger market, but it is stateside. And it is a team that certainly is poised to do something. And Connor Hellebuck, United States Olympic champion, wouldn't it be nice to get him on this side of the border? Just kind of like how, Brady Tkachuk just joined his brother.
Yeah, I think that there's something there with Hellebuck. I think he does end up somewhere. I can't say that Buffalo is going to be the answer, but I can say that Buffalo will be at least in the mix or on the phone trying to see if they can pull this off because it's a perfect spot for him, despite it not being a major market. It's, like you said, it's stateside. It's a huge hockey market, despite the population being smaller than most of the other teams you might envision him landing on. And if they are willing, they do have the pieces and assets to make it work.
The second part I'm going to push back on. I don't think hockey players give two damns about Buffalo being a hockey market and being loved. If that were the case, all right, then if anything, the part that would negate that is, hey, it's not Canadian taxes you're dealing with. Which, welcome to New York State here. That's part of it too. That, have a friend that's in this business where, as a tax returner, preparing taxes, they actually say, all right, here are the offers. Now we're going to run this through the filter, and here's your actual take-home pay if you go to Vegas or if you go to Buffalo. This is the world we live in. So I think the overall thing is if he has any pull here, Hellebuck, are the Sabres in the top 3?
That I would doubt.
No, that would doubt. So I don't know if this gets done. Now, it also, too, and this is always the big unknown, where I think it's a problem for the NHL, the no-trade clauses. That, like, okay, I could block you. We saw this with the working against the Sabres at the trade deadline. Imagine what that is in Winnipeg, right? Like, you'd have to be getting guys, like, right on their entry-level deal. See Isak Rosén, for example, right? So, all right. Are you willing to part with, like, it, like, legitimately, like, 2 number ones, a 2? I doubt Bo Byram would say, yeah, I'm going to Winnipeg. But certainly you could just throw in Noah Ostlund. You're going to have to throw in something juicy there. Like, what would be the thing that would get you to pause? Some may say it's Ostlund. Others would say Kulik. And I would say, Kulik on the wing, on the power play, you didn't see that last year. He might be that kind of sniper that you've been missing there. Helenius is the one where I'm like, no, that guy looks special. But then again, Ostlund looks special too, and he just got hurt. So there's going to be some pain if you don't get good. It's not like the Giannis deal where, like, okay, we'll give you Tyler Hero, okay, and a bunch of first-round picks. Sidebar until 2033?
Yeah, 5 to 7 years down the line, 3 first-round picks.
What? That's just,
Those people are literal children right now that they're being traded for.
Yeah, that's, okay. That's great. Fantastic. Although it worked for Oklahoma City, they kind of use this template. Maybe that'll work there for Milwaukee, too. We'll talk a lot of these Sabre angles with Joe Yerdon. Of course, the NHL news today, Mike Babcock gets hired in Edmonton. Now, if you're somebody who's like, okay, Gene, enough of the hockey talk. No, let me just draw the analogy. Like, picture in your favorite sport the totalitarian head coach. That's Mike Babcock. That coach is kind of extinct, right? The guy that is going to do things and Players Association pushing back. They needed the blessing for the Players Association to let this guy back in the league. And he's going to the place where all the pressure is there. Connor McDavid has 2 years left on his contract, including this coming season. And if this doesn't work out, well, then this time next year we're going to be knee-deep in Connor McDavid rumors, right? Because will Edmonton move off of him before he leaves them? All right, so that's where we're at. And it almost seems like where I sit, that this is a Connor McDavid, and actually Dennis Bernstein, who was on with us yesterday, this was his opinion. This was a McDavid dictate. We need a coach like this. There's too many slackers on this team. It's all great in theory until you're the one being held accountable and you're the one being called out, but I can't wait to see this work. It's either going to work where they're back in the Cup final or it is going to blow up. I don't know which way it's going to go. We'll get the thoughts of Joe Yerdon from the Bleacher Report.
I'm kind of hoping that it goes the way that Barry Melrose last stint in Tampa did, where he coached like literally a week and a half. It was like, never mind, I'm good. And then you go back into TV or whatever.
I forgot about that. It was still, well, he went to
I think
TV.
it was 7 games
yeah,
or something.
It's like, I don't think Babcock, he doesn't have that option. Like, he's, so it won't be him leaving. It'll be Edmonton pushing him out the door for sure. One other quick note, because we are a baseball town. Where do you come down on Jazz Chisholm? If Yankee fans, did you see this?
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, so like, all right, so Aaron Boone did not like Jazz Chisholm just chowing down on a lollipop. Not while he's in the dugout. Well, he's on the field.
So he took it to the field then, yeah.
Okay. Like the lollipop itself, that is like the lowest grade candy, right? It's nothing more than a different shape of a Jolly Rancher, right? That's all it is. So what does the purpose of the lollipop actually serve? Like, how old are you? Like, if you want, like they have like Major League Dugout. Hey, you want You want seeds, you want gum, you want anything. Major League locker rooms, you want ice cream, you want a cold beer, anything you want. But you never see anything like a lollipop on the field. That seemed a little odd to me. Yankees tonight continuing their series against the Tigers. There's one game in the afternoon. We'll be off by the time it goes off. Houston against Toronto. Let's talk to Joe Yurden. Joe Yurden from the Bleacher Report, noted hockey as our noted jerk. So we'll kind of delve into a big season, a big week ahead here for the Buffalo Sabres and the NHL. Also, the Board of Governors meeting going on right now. And since Joe writes on a national level, too, I mean, are we expecting a change of commissioner? Secretly, we're all hoping for that, right? I think that, all right, Gary, I time's up. I think we're ready for
on to the next.
We're ready for a change here, bud. My name is Gene Battaglia, Tim Schneider, Dan Drummey. This is WGR Rochester.
Sports Update.
Ribbon cutting ceremony today for the new Highmark Stadium. Owner Terry Pagula thanking fans for the PSL sales.
Our fans, the Bills Mafia, helped us finance what you're looking at here today. The Bills front office does not take this commitment by our fans lightly. We really appreciate what the Bills Mafia did over our projections and stepping up to the line to get this stadium built.
Baseball, the Wings begin a series tonight in Charlotte, second half of the International League season beginning. Yankees are in Detroit. NBA draft is tonight, round one, the Washington Wizards with the first overall pick. Sports is brought to you by GetMyPerks.com, where today, 2 rounds for the price of 1 to Eaglevale. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM, AM 950, WGR Rochester.
Rochester's home for live sports and the best sports talk anywhere. The Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
The Sabres did drop a little bit of a note today. Hey, you're the 4 preseason games, and it's one of those like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. There's 4 this coming season because they're taking 2 of them and making them regular season games. I don't think anybody was asking for that, Joe Yurden. Joe Yurden, Bleacher Report, noted hockey, always great with his time and his takes and his insight here. Does this mean we're going to get like an October 1st start date for the regular season for the Sabres? Joe, how are you today?
I'm good, Gene. I wouldn't be surprised if we got like a September 30th start to the season. Honestly, I mean, it's if you're gonna cut off a couple of preseason games and start sooner, why not start as soon as possible? I mean, the way we've been doing it before with the preseason games is they would get them done, and then we sit around for a week waiting for the season opener. It's like, no, come on, like you everybody's going into camp knowing who their team's going to be. Like, let's go, let's get it started.
Yeah, for sure. And the season's so long that you can make adjustments along the way. Joe, I'm of the belief, and you know, fill us in on here because I think many of our listeners right now would know about the NFL kind of landscape here, meaning, hey, we have this thing in the NFL called legal tampering, and then once free agency happens, whoosh, it's like these deals have been in place. Is it the same for hockey? And if so, I would have to believe that Alex Tuck's representation would know, all right, here's offer A, and here's offer B, and here's offer C.
I'm pretty sure everybody knows where everybody else stands on this stuff. I mean, the NHL used to have the legal tampering window for a few seasons, and then it kind of killed the vibe on free agency opening day because everything was signed within the first 10 minutes. Not that it's any different now because the same thing kind of happened. Maybe it buys an extra 20 minutes for TSN and Sportsnet and the likes to be able to do a free agent frenzy on July 1st, But no, it's everybody's got a pretty good idea. If they're not actually talking, which, I mean, if you could prove that in a court of law, I guess that would be a problem. But I would imagine everybody understands where everybody sits when it comes to getting a contract done. And if teams know they're in, they're sending a carrier pigeon, sending a raven, doing whatever they got to do to let it be known what their offer will be. But I mean, if it's the case with the Sabres and Alex Tuck, they can talk all they want to. That's how that's set up. But I would imagine everybody knows where everybody stands at this point. And if it gets to if a guy doesn't sign within that first day, I would imagine it's something where the player says, like, let me just digest a few things and think some things over before I put my signature down. Yeah,
or sometimes maybe it's contingent on another move, whatever it is. On Tuck, because the idea that, hey, other teams have to kind of wait, the Sabres don't. They can make this announcement at any point if they come to terms. They haven't done that. Does that make it more likely? It's not 50-50. The odds are that Tuck is going to be playing elsewhere next season.
Well, I would say that the fact that we saw Kevin Weeks mentioned Zach Benson maybe getting 7 for 7. And if you're taking $7 million out of what the Sabres have under the cap, right now, I mean, that can change with trades and whatever, but the Sabres have roughly around $13 million in cap space. And if you're saying like, well, we're carving 7 of that off for Zach Benson, you're kind of letting Tuck know like, hey man, we've got other ideas here. Now, obviously you don't have to hurry to re-sign Zach Benson. You can get it done July 1st if you want to, but he's RFA. Take your time. Get that done whenever whenever you can, as long as it's before the start of training camp. But maybe that's a way of playing the media game and letting Tuck know like, hey man, like, we got other guys here we're trying to take care of. If you're in, you're in. If you're not, then, maybe we circle back once once some offers come in on July 1st. Because I don't know. Something in my gut tells me that he's going to give Buffalo one more shot to get in there. And this is not based on anything I've heard, but just on his attachment to the city and what this means, and the fact that he's dealing with a different GM than he was a year ago. I think he wants to be fair. I think he wants to be fair to his teammates and to the team and see where it's at. But I don't know. It's they're between a rock and a hard place, because I think Alex can and deserves to get paid. He absolutely does. But it's tough. It's tough for Buffalo right now because of the cap space and because of everything else they want to get done this season if they're going to move on and be a cup contender and be even better than they were this past season.
Yeah, and if another team wants to say go to 11, which I've yet to hear the Sabre fans say, yeah, let's do that, I'm not the one who's going to wave my finger and say, shame on you, you should have stayed in Buffalo. These guys, this is the last chance here for Alex Tuck to cash in on his career, Joe.
Yeah, and for him, it's really, he's coming off of an extension that he signed when he was with Vegas, 7-8 years ago. This is a chance for him to actually really cash in on what he's done. That I remember talking to him last year about what it was like to sign that deal with Vegas, and he said, I was really young. And they came to me out of the blue with this offer. George McPhee said, like, hey, we want to get you booked to this. What do you say? And he was like, yeah, let's do it. Which I think any of us in his position at 23, 22, 23, 24 years old, whatever he was, you get an offer like that where it's, 7-8 years for 36 million. You're like, yeah, absolutely. Let's go, man. Like, I know I would, but he gets a couple of years into that contract and then he's in Buffalo and then he's scoring 30 goals a season. And it's like, oh man, I'm making less than $5 million a year. I should be making twice that now. This is pretty tough. And, you hit 30, you're a known quantity, you're a star player. And this is your chance to cash in on that. And I know 30 is kind of a scary number for some folks in the NHL, but this is his opportunity to really make bank. And, he's at a different spot in life now, with family and everything, but this is his chance. This is his chance to score. And if he gets to do it, then good on him. I have no problems with it. If he goes somewhere else and he gets $10 million a year, man, that's awesome. Congrats.
Joe, you're noted hockey or noted jerk. Bleacher Report, other platforms you could read his work on. Joe, the one thing I thought was a lot of fun in the playoff series, like talking about details like, hey, who's going to be in the bottom pairing here in this opening matchup? And we were all banging the drum for Zach Metza. And, the reason we could talk about the bottom pairing for defense, because you didn't have to worry about the top four. You had the top four set. You can make an argument that the Sabres top four offensively, best in the league. So the question here coming, you see this question coming, Bo Byram, why would you upset the apple cart? In my mind, this is a conversation to have this time around next year. Like, okay, Byram's hitting free agency. Unless there's something we don't know here, explain it to us why all these rumors about Bo Byram being traded.
Well, I think the rumors are easy to pick on because, they can extend them on July 1st if they want to. That can be done. But everybody sees their cap situation and they're like, okay, what are they going to do? And, you see Dahlin making $12 million. You've got Power making $8 million. And you've got, Samuelson's already squared away at, just over $4 million. So you're like, all right, where does Bo fit into that picture? And, it's ripe time for everybody to jump in and say like, oh, geez, they can't sign him for $9 million a year, can they? They can't if he wants to be the number one, he'll never be that there in Buffalo with Dolly. Like it is fertile ground for everybody to get their say in and say what they got to do. But if you're Buffalo, I mean, you don't have to do anything. You really don't. And remember we were talking with Bo at the end, after the playoffs were over, and he seemed kind of not upset, but just kind of like, man, we're asking about my contract again. And he even said, I thought we put this to bed, signing last year. I got to start talking about this again. We're like, yeah, man, July 1st is coming, brother. This is how it goes. But I mean, for him, it's a contract year. So I mean, he can get paid. He can have a monster season and play it forward and maybe become a $10 million a year defenseman. That's very possible. But if I'm Buffalo, I look at that and say, like, okay, do it to our benefit. Don't go do it for somebody else. Do it here. Become a monster, scoring, work on your defense a little bit more. But like, they're really happy with him. They're very excited to have him. They love having him here, and the guys in the room love having him here. So, to me, Buffalo doesn't have to make a move. If somebody wants to come at them and blow them away with a trade offer, okay, then I'm listening. But until then, I don't feel the need to do anything, because you've got a lot of ducks to get in a row here, financially speaking, with the team. And you've got some guys to take care of. You want to get Benson done, okay, great, you can do that. You want to get some other guys done, okay, fine, you can do that. And I know Darren Ferris likes to take his guys right to July 1st and see what they can cash in on. I think that arrangement can work for Buffalo, because if he's going to pop off and he's going to have a monster year, let it work for you. Let it work for you to go win a cup. Let it.
Yeah.
You don't have to scramble and get this stuff done now and then say like, oh geez, how do we replace him? What other moves we got to make here to replace the guy we just got rid of? No, just keep him.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's the price of where Tuck is now. That was also a conversation back in January. Oh, my gosh, we've got to talk about Alex Tuck. No, we're not moving Alex Tuck. Don't move Alex Tuck. Don't move Bo Byram. Unless, I don't know if 6.2 is that big a margin here, unless there's something else in the works here. And before you came on, Joe, we were Tim and I were discussing here the Hellebuck rumors. Like, is there any... Is there anything to this? Because to me, I mean, he is the guy that not just the Sabres would want to go make a move for, but any NHL team that has a need in goals. So, like, bring us through that right now. What's real? What's not? How real could Buffalo be a player, assuming that Hellebuck is being shot by Winnipeg right now?
Well, I would say that if it is real, and the last we heard from Connor Hellebuck was at the end of the Jets season, and he was pretty mad. And understandably so. And you get it. Like, the guy's an intense competitor. We saw the absolute best of him during the Olympics. He was incredible. Just an unbelievable performance by him. So 3 Vezinas, an MVP. Like, you don't need to build the resume up to sell somebody on acquiring Connor Hellebuck. Now, if he does really want to get out of there, I would hope Winnipeg would be proactive on that front. If he's got a limited number of teams he would be happy to go to, that's a little tougher. I think that's when you maybe, if you've got a genuine chance to land a guy like that, then maybe you're asking Tage Thompson to do some politicking for you on the USA side of things. But I think if Hellebuck if there's a realistic chance of landing Connor Hellebuck, I would say if you're attached to Zach Benson and you're attached to Bo Byram, I would say you might want to cut some of those threads. Benson played in Winnipeg in juniors. He's from Canada. He's a guy that I'm positive any team in the NHL would love to get their hands on. If they're worried about the money, well, you're just letting the money go with Hellebuck. So replace that with Zach Benson money. Okay, fine. If you're worried about, same thing with Byram. Like, either way, if you're going to do that, then you got to be comfortable letting a couple of those guys go, and maybe even have to kick the tires on Hellenuus, which I think if it's those 3 guys for Hellebuck, you say no. But I'm not a GM, so it's for good reason too, because I don't know, I'd be so hot under the collar, with pressure, but I mean, if there's a realistic opportunity to land them where it's one that doesn't kind of kneecap you in the short term. I mean, obviously you get an elite goalie like that, you're doing good, but depth wise, I think that would be a big issue for Buffalo, because we saw how adamant Lindy and Yarmo were about making sure they had the depth to sort through the playoffs. Going into the postseason, that's what the deadline was all about, was just depth. Make sure we're not shorthanded at any point moving forward. And they made sure of that.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to make a move in the offseason that will cut into that, where they got to start relying on pulling guys out of Rochester, because right now they don't have the guys in Rochester to really pull out of there. All those guys have been pulled out. They're all in Buffalo now.
No, it's I did right. Like you, Helenus, congrats, you took him. Yeah, not much right now on the horizon there. Well, this begs the question too, and there, I don't think this is an apples to apples comparison, but when you're mentioning, all right, what would Winnipeg like in return? Well, they're not. I don't think there's any mandate that they have to trade Connor Hell. It kind of seemed that way with Brady Tkachuk, right? And for Tkachuk, he goes 3 number ones and a second. That wouldn't get it done with Winnipeg, correct? That's more of, hey, Tkachuk had a limited kind of, with his no trade clause, I'm only going to a certain number of places, and for Ottawa, that was the best they could get. You think that Winnipeg could get a better return than what Ottawa got for Tkachuk?
Yeah, I think that was a very special set of circumstances, because I know a lot of folks were wondering why Ottawa wouldn't want Mackie Samoskevich, who Florida traded to get a first-round pick out of Seattle, to help make that Tkachuk deal happen. Ottawa's is in a special spot where they have the 32nd pick, but that was given back to them after they had it taken away from them, and they can't trade it. They can't do anything with it. They have to make the pick. So they wanted to have a fungible asset, I think, or a liquid asset that they could trade. So getting a couple of firsts, they get Florida's two picks there. That gives them something that they can move to maybe acquire somebody else. Who that is? I mean, who knows? I know there's a lot of Jason Robertson talk, but I can't imagine Robertson would be geeked to stay in Ottawa at this point. But who knows? I mean, weird things happen. But I think 3 firsts and a second. If you're just talking about picks down the road, even this year, like if you're talking moving 20 and a couple other things for a guy like Hellebuck, or even a guy like Robertson. Like if you're going to go and add somebody to replace a Tuck or to upgrade your goaltending, I don't know that you're getting too geeked about the picks. I mean, they've only got 4 picks this year, so they've found ways to spin those picks off and to use them elsewhere, but to make themselves better in other areas. And I don't know if they're in a spot now where they got to hoard every pick and they've got to say like, all right, listen, we got to, like, yes, you want to keep the machine moving down the road prospect wise and keep that going. You don't want to completely empty the cupboards, but I mean, if you're getting an elite player that you're going to have for years, or you're going to re-sign and have them here for a long time, I think you're okay with that. If it's guys like that, like, Hellebuck is proven he's an elite goalie. Like, yes, sign me up. Jason Robertson, get him re-signed. Elite player, great, sign me up. Let's do that. In Florida's case, Florida hasn't cared about first-round picks in, I think, 5 years. so trading away future firsts and all that for Brady, to have him play with Matthew, to make them just an absolutely nightmare team to deal with night in and night out, yeah, you make that trade 100 times.
Is there a plan B here? I'm assuming that maybe the Sabres are exploring their goaltending options, but say, all right, I'm not one that says Jordan Binnington is the answer here. Mm-hmm. Is there any Markstrom with the Devils? Is there anybody else, Joe, you would think would make sense where the price tag wouldn't be nearly as half as much?
Well, I think that the Sabres are in a spot where they can go get a veteran goaltender to help out with the depth at an easy cost, because they've got a couple of goalies that are going to require waivers next season. I mean, we already know about Colton Ellis. They got him on waivers, so they know he needs waivers. You've got Devin Levi, who's, not waivers exempt next season. So he's going to have to get through waivers if he's going to go back to Rochester, or if he goes somewhere else, then that can be their issue. But they've got a couple of young goalies that they can dangle to somebody that says, like, hey, we got a veteran it's not really working here right now, or we're looking to move, whatever. They can use one of those guys in that trade potentially and figure it out from there, because I know people got anxious about goaltending the way that the playoffs ended and said, boy, we could really use a save in XYZ situation. I get it. I understand. Buffalo's goalie tandem last year was one of the best in the league. I know folks are like, are like, it needs to be better. Okay, great. Every position needs to be better no matter what team you are. I get it. I just don't see goaltending as a position that they're overly stressed on. I think they're more concerned about how they're going to replace Tuck if they have to, and defensive depth, honestly, because, if you keep Byram, that's great. But, like, who's your third pair right now? And I don't think they've got a good answer for that. So I think they're in a position where they can kind of play it small, play it tight to the vest, and kind of go from there. I mean, obviously, if you lose Tuck, that's a big deal, and that's a big guy to replace. But when it comes to goaltending and things like that, I don't necessarily see having to go get a big time vet like a Markstrom, or, if you're going to make a splash, make it be Hellebuck. But I mean, I just don't really see that as being a major pressure point for them right now. I get it. Like, again, I get it. You saw enough situations in the playoffs where you're like, boy, would love to that be better. But I don't know, man. The goaltending was one of their strengths last year with the rotation, how everything works. You can't always, I don't know. With goaltending, I always say you can't hope that it's going to repeat itself year in and year out unless you've got an elite guy, but maybe that's how you solve it. But I don't know. I think right now, big picture view, goaltending is maybe number 3 or 4 on that list.
Joe, last one, and this is so tasty. I mean, the totalitarian head coach and the star player of the league. What do you make of Mike Babcock being hired today officially as the head coach of the Edmonton Oilers?
It's kind of funny to me because I think back to the draft lottery that year when McDavid and it was McDavid and Eichel, and Edmonton wins that lottery, and Tim Murray storms out of the place in Toronto after the lottery's over with, and just kind of stammering about we knew we had an 80% chance to lose that, so we were prepared for that. And I was like, okay, Tim, but everything was about McDavid. Yep. And the alternate timeline for the Sabres that year would have been, well, if they win the draft and they get McDavid, who was the head coach for the Sabres that season is Mike Babcock. Wow. And because they don't win that draft, it ends up being Dan Bilesma instead. So I look at this as like the timeline has corrected itself many, many years after the fact, and you're catching a coach who hasn't won a playoff round since Connor was an exceptional age player at Erie at 16, and a player in McDavid who's the best in the NHL. And now you're bringing them together and saying, like, all right, let's make this work somehow. And I just don't know how that's going to play out. I really don't. I think either. This is such a desperate stab by Edmonton to try to win now, get it taken care of, get Connor a cup, and put everything else to bed. But I don't know. I look at those last few seasons with Toronto for Babcock, and they weren't able to get things together. And I think that those Toronto teams were about as deep as this Edmonton team is. And I don't know. I don't know if you look at the West as like being a little weaker, at least in their division, but also the team that just was in the Stanley Cup Finals in their division. And you've got the entire Central Division that's nasty and ready to get vengeance. So this is not an easy situation, and it is fascinating to see how this plays out. They could be great. It could also blow up in their face in an unbelievable way.
Joe, you're a noted hockey Bleacher Report. Draft Friday night, which we really didn't even touch on, but certainly we'll be reading your work. Tell everybody about noted hockey and where they can get more of your work here, Joe.
Yeah, Bleacher Report. We got tons of draft stuff for you here. I'll have winners and losers after the night of the first round, anyways, because I got a feeling we're gonna have a lot of trades, and it's gonna be a very interesting first round. Does McKenna go first? I don't know. We'll see. And then lots of Sabre analysis to come at Noted Hockey on the draft. What they do with those 4 picks? Do they trade? Do they get involved? A lot of stuff to go over. It's gonna be an interesting one. I'm very, very excited for this.
Joe, great stuff, and appreciate your time today, and we'll be checking out the work here, and let's do this again sometime after the draft.
Hey, you got it, Gene. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks. Joe Yerdon joining us here on the show. Tim, normally this is where we toss the break.
Yeah.
We got a pretty big story out of football that just came across.
Ow! 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 It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
The NFL has informed teams that it will not be holding a supplemental draft, meaning Texas Tech quarterback Brandon Sorsby will not be eligible to enter the NFL in 2026. The CBA allows for the league to decide whether it holds a supplemental draft or not, and this year it won't. That was the first tweet for Ian Rappaport. But then, just to make it clear, okay, because in that he says he's not playing in this league, Brandon Sorsby cannot be signed as a free agent. He can play in other professional leagues, but not in the NFL in 2026 based on this news. Okay, translation. NFL security put up a big red stop sign. Stop, stop, stop. Again, this is my read on the story because if this is somebody...
This was my take the other day.
This was like, yeah, this was it. Like, wait a second. What's the difference between college football saying, no, you need a suspension here? Well, the NFL is way ahead of the curve when it comes to college sports on this stuff, right? Can we all kind of agree? And their background check was like, whoa. He's not banned. We can't punish him. He's not even into the league. But you know what? We can kick the can down the road. And this will give us 1 year to decide. So Brandon Sorsby, what a gamble. And this just blew up in his face. It's unbelievable. Like, you could have compromised. Maybe that should have been the play for Texas Tech. You know what? Hey, like, we won this court ruling, but can we have him back in the second half of the season? No. Wow.
I don't know what they do from here. And like we discussed the other day when I said the NFL should do this, is like they just have to go back and appeal and go back in. Like, do you undeclare for the draft? They just undeclared him themselves.
No. Well, no. He like they don't have to have a supplemental draft.
Right.
So legitimately, his only option here, and now this is like, okay, where is the line here? Because you get like, oh, go up and play in the CFL. Hey, if the CFL is concerned, and I don't know about Canadian betting laws, I know they've had legalized wagering way longer than we have. Would they be like, yeah, no, we're not going anywhere near that. Sorry. All right, so where does this bring us? To the UFL next spring? Wow, you're going to hear a lot about this today. And, you know, it's one of those stories. All right, let's get this. It's not a Friday news dump, but on the day we have the NBA draft, and again, West New York not really big into the NBA draft, right? But let's just get this out of the way. Brandon Sorsby will not be playing in the NFL this year, and he can't go back to college. He's a man right now without a home.
Schefter just posted an entire letter sent from an NFL lawyer to Sorsby's. I don't know if it was directly to him. It says it's directed to Mr. Sorsby, but I'm assuming it went to the lawyer first. It's a pretty long one in a full tweet. So
all right, well,
if you're on Twitter, check it out.
All right, so basically just bullet pointed. It's just basically probably just pointing out everything.
Explaining why they are deciding not to hold the draft and the reasons for him declaring for the draft as a means to not allow him in. Like the being declared ineligible and all that. Like,
yeah, it's and there's kind of a fine line.
Crimes.
Too. Right. There.
Potential crimes.
Does the NFL have a minor league?
The college.
Well, the official answer is no, we don't. The unofficial answer is yes, we do. Right? That's the NFL won't admit to this, but they're partners with college football. It's a silent partnership, and you don't believe me? Look at how they schedule opposite, right? Down to the fact that, hey, we're going to clear out here, make sure you get your bowl games or the playoff games in a good spot here. Like, it is a wink-wink partnership. They both need each other. And who do I blame in all this? The answer? The NCAA. I blame you, NCAA, because you never had anything, and never any policy, and not even realizing that, hey, let's find the local yokel judge that will get this kid cleared. What a mess. What a mess.
The gift that keeps on giving. It's the new Rossini.
Right.
Except it stinks for him. I do kind of feel a little bit bad for it. Like, it was his own decisions.
Wait
but
a second. New Rossini.
Oh, there's new Sorsby news every day. Like,
Well,
we had
I know.
Rossini for a
Come
little
on,
bit.
like, die. Can you do the sit down expose at some point? I really want to know. Like, what did hubby say? How long did that take, or was that green lit, or are you like? Never mind.
Yeah, we're waiting.
Never mind. We're way over break.
That's okay.
We'll take. That's okay. No one's paying attention.
There are no
to
rules.
Us. No rules for us here in Rochester. We're WGR Rochester. Gene Battaglia, Tim Schneider, Dan Drummy. Quick break. We're back next.
Rochester, the owners of this radio station, are looking for you. Call Mike Johnson at 585-423-2946. Odyssey is an equal opportunity employer.
WROCAM, WBEE HD2, and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. WGR Rochester. Sports update.
Breaking news is the NFL will not be holding a supplemental draft this year, meaning former Texas Tech quarterback Brandon Sorsby will not be playing in the NFL this season. The ribbon-cutting ceremony today from the new Highmark Stadium, Terry Pegula expressing his gratitude.
It's one thing to talk about it. It's one thing to get the money. It's another thing to get it done. So thank you. You're different kinds of heroes. We put our heroes in the stadium. Yes, Jim, Thurman, Bruce, Ralph. Your names are going to stay there among others inside the stadium. But outside are the other heroes who got this stadium built.
Sal Capaccio, WGR Bills reporter, to join us later this hour. Wings tonight are in Charlotte, the Yankees in Detroit. NBA draft tonight, round 1, the Washington Wizards on the clock. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM, AM 950, WGR Rochester.
Pull up a chair, stay for a while. You're in the sports bar on WGR. Grab a drink, hang your coat, get sports talk. Live from Western New York. It's a master show. 9 times better than your typical host. 9 times. Gene and Tim have takes much hotter than most. No one cares when you're out. Sabres! Bills! Americans! Red Wings and Nighthawks! Sports bar! For Rochester Sports Talk.
Hour number 2, as you found us here. The sun is out from the High Falls Studios in downtown Rochester. Gene Battaglia with you. 585-866-4326 is our phone number. You can write to us on X at WGR Rochester, as there's a lot to kind of bite off here with the Brandon Sorsby news, or the NFL saying no to Brandon Sorsby. Now, as you think about this, all right, was it the NFL just doing their due diligence, like, hold up here? All right, let's wait on this here. Or did they view this as an opportunity? Meaning, this would be a great way to make an example, to show everybody that we are very serious, the NFL, when it comes to the legitimacy of our product, and no one is going to stain anything. And why let somebody, even with a little bit of a question mark? In other words, this is PR at its finest. If Brandon Sorsby had the resume, say, of, I don't know, the quarterback that went to Vegas, right? Would we be talking about something different? Like, I never heard once, hey, Brandon Sorsby is going to be the next guy. And then this story came out. And you're wondering, what on earth? To me, this seems more like a PR kind of story that, sorry, kid, we don't need to let you into the club here. In fact, you're not exactly kind of welcome here. I'm just kind of stunned that the NFL went about it this way. And for Sorsby, he's got no other option. So to kind of review the story here, the NFL came out today and said, no, we're not going to hold the supplemental draft. Read between the lines. That means that Sorsby is not eligible. Well, couldn't he sign anywhere as a free agent? No. And Rappaport following that up with a tweet, he is not allowed in the league this year. So they're being very careful with the language here because, well, it's not a suspension. He's not suspended for anybody. He's just somebody who's trying to apply for the job. You're not welcome to apply here. And let's say in the next 10 years, 20 years, whatever it is, do you think we'll have a massive gambling story? I hope not. I hope not.
I think we won't because of stuff like this. They're putting an end to it before it even starts.
No, I think that this is just something you point to as the NFL just to say, we take this stuff very seriously. And had we known about it, this you know about. Everyone knows about this. So why would you want to let this guy in the league to develop? What about development? Stop. I'm sorry. He is responsible for his own decisions. And guess what? He made some very, very poor decisions. And what was funny to me was how Texas Tech and the judge made this guy look like the victim. He's not the victim. You know who's a victim? There are many victims in domestic violence today. And I'm going to be careful on how I say this because there's this other story in the NFL that is just an allegation, right? About Geno Smith. And where originally, no, there's nothing to see here. No, this is still being investigated. Okay? So I'll make that clear. It's an investigation. But it doesn't need to be Geno Smith. I can point to dozens of other instances in the NFL where we've had a case of domestic violence. See Von Miller, okay? The authorities didn't find anything. The NFL found enough to say, you know what, this warrants a 4-game suspension. Okay? But we let you back in. But yet, because the biggest crime in sports is, hey, we want to make sure that everything people are watching, the integrity of the sport, okay? But, my gosh, you would think there would be some things that we're not going to let you in the club for. No, everything else, you can come back in.
Gambling appears to be the only thing. You can, just off the top of my head, Josh Gordon, drugs. Terrell Pryor, I mean, it was silly, but he signed autographs or whatever.
It's not even comparable.
But, those guys were allowed in based on rules that were broken. Gambling on your own team seems to be the reddest flag that you can do.
Right. And this is the perfect opportunity for the NFL to puff out its chest and say, no, we don't need you. Now, if it's determined, if there was a scout that said, you know what, this guy can't miss, why bring this into your league? I'm sorry. And Brandon Sorsby is not a victim. Brandon Sorsby can go live a normal life, make a lot of money. Maybe he takes the really long route. Somebody might let him in the UFL. What do they got to lose? That's why I don't think, the Canadian Football League. No, if I'm the Canadian Football League, nah, I don't think so either, bud. Sorry, not our problem. 585-866-4326. So we don't, secret winner in all this, okay? The NFL scout that had his vacation planned for the second week in July, because July 10th was going to be the pro day where all 32 teams were going to go down to Texas Tech. Doom, 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 doom. Even teams that don't need a quarterback, you have to go do your due diligence. Doom, 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 doom. Hey, hon. Hey, that vacation we canceled, it's back on. Woohoo. Trying to find something light in the story. Sal Capaccio will indeed be joining us here at the bottom of the hour, maybe 2:25-ish.
Cool.
We'll kind of get his impressions as he did the walkthrough today. It is time now, well, depending on how you look at it, either the best or the worst bit here in Rochester Radio today.
It's now time for Terrible Time Timmy's Terrible Take of the Day on WGR Rochester. WGR Rochester. It's Terrible Time Timmy.
So late last night, Giannis Antetokounmpo got dealt away to the Miami Heat for basically a bunch of spares and some first-round picks that are legitimately 9 years old right now, the athletes that those picks will become. And you can grade the winners and the losers, and if you want to give them a letter grade or whatever, you can find that somewhere. But I think the biggest loser in all this is from a team completely unassociated who was not the winning suitor for the talents of Antetokounmpo, because how in the world can Jaylen Brown now go back to the Celtics after you spent 2 weeks as being the rumored guy with a bunch of picks? Jaylen Brown's a really, really good player, way better than any of the players, in my opinion, that Miami gave up to get Antetokounmpo. And now he's in a spot where, you didn't want me here. Why am I going to be here? I think he's probably played his last game here, or at least needs to be coddled a little bit to want to bring him back in. And also,
I'm not saying you're wrong, but isn't this, if he's all blue language alert, if he's all butthurt that, oh my gosh, my name was in the trade, stop. Isn't that wrong?
I don't think so.
You're a professional. Somebody's going to pay you. Where am I reporting? Milwaukee, Boston?
If you feel unwanted, so if somebody says, Tim, we're gonna trade you next door, and then that just falls through, why would I want to come back and sit in this chair? Like you don't want me here. I will go find somewhere else to be. But if you're telling me that, but also, oh, never mind, we do want you because the person that we didn't get went somewhere else. I don't know. Like I would feel unwanted isn't the word. I would feel at least a chip on my shoulder to prove you wrong. That why would you ever want to get rid of me?
The only thing I could think of, and this wasn't a team deciding A or B. One of the weirdest things in NBA history was, hey, Chris Paul getting dealt to the Lakers.
Not today, David Stern.
And David Stern stepping in. Like, why would David Stern step in? Like, it make no sense at that point, right? That why wouldn't you want Chris Paul in a premier franchise? And the return wasn't bad. Paul Gasol was the guy coming back in the other direction. Okay, the trade didn't happen. What did Paul Gasol all of a sudden be like, no, you don't want me?
I don't think he was happy, if I recall. And I know that Kobe helped him a lot through that when they had to patch that up. I know that Kobe was a huge hand in wanting him to stick around.
Okay, according to the AI, and I vaguely remember this, Kobe Bryant in 07 demanded a trade. There was a proposed package that would have involved Luol Deng. See, the funny thing is, like, yeah, these things come and go. Like, okay, your name was in a rumor mill. Whatever at this point. I think it's an interesting take, though, that, all right, how do you move forward if you're Boston? Why did Brad Stevens say, no, we're not doing this? Like, that's an easy spin for him. He could just go out there today, meet with the media, like, right before the draft, be like, you know what? No, this is our guy. And I'm sorry that his name was kind of in this, but at the end of the day, I think he's better. And we can't wait to show it. That's it. That's it. And as a Celtics fan, you might be like, all right, let's go. And then you will con yourself into thinking, that Knicks team wasn't all that good. And I'll take who cares if he's down there in Miami? We're going to be fine this year. Yeah.
What about Jimmy Haslam trading Myles Garrett and Antetokounmpo in 3 weeks? Just a crazed owner.
Oh.
Get me out of here.
I'm sorry that Jimmy Haslam came up on the show today, Tim.
That's okay.
Tim, thank you. Sal Capaccio will join us here in just a little bit here as we'll be talking about what he saw. One other note from the NBA. If you're the family of Micah Nori, are you celebrating tonight? I guess, right? So I'm not familiar with this guy. He's a career-long assistant coach in the league. Since 2009. That's a long time. 17 years. And finally, you get hired as an NBA head coach. Good for you. To a team that proudly stated, we are going to pay our head coach the least amount of money in the league. We are going to reset. You know why we could say that? Because we know we're going to get somebody that wants the opportunity and will do anything to do. Like, take your place of business, right? Like, it's like, oh, yeah, that's all right, we're inviting him in, but we could have had somebody else. We could have had her, somebody. I hope it works out for Portland. And the thing that I want to happen here, bottom line is, I want Portland, the Trailblazers, to stay in Portland. We're joined 2 weeks ago by Trista Crick, who's fantastic. Follow her, on social tonight for the NBA draft. She will just have insight there, right? She's from Portland. She loves the Trailblazers. There's real fear out there that Tom Dundon is going to move that team out in the dark of night, just like how that region lost the Sonics years ago. That there are plenty of teams that would love to have an NBA franchise. I hope that fear is just, is unfounded. And you're bringing in a head coach that what's the requirement here? Okay, lowest paid head coach. Like, okay, how many qualified coaches were like, I ain't going there? Sorry, I can't put my name to that. Sal Capaccio was out at the ribbon cutting. We'll catch up with him. Some quick Bills news and takes today with the sun out. On the other side of that, last call is for you at 585-866-4326. Gene Battaglia here, WGR Rochester.
Sports Update.
Breaking news is the NFL will not be holding a supplemental draft this year, meaning Brendan Sorsby, former Texas Tech quarterback, will not be playing in the NFL next season. The ribbon-cutting ceremony today for the new Highmark Stadium Terry Pagula thanking the fans.
Our fans, the Bills Mafia, helped us finance what you're looking at here today. The Bills front office does not take this commitment by our fans lightly. We really appreciate what the Bills Mafia did over our projections and stepping up to the line to get this stadium built.
Sal Capaccio to join us next here in the Sports Bar. Rochester Red Wings begin the second half of the baseball season in the International League tonight in Charlotte. Yankees are in Detroit. NBA Draft Round 1 tonight. The Washington Wizards on the clock. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader. WGR Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
Every Bills fan has to be looking forward to, all right, how does this feel? What does it look like? What's the experience going to be like? And for the first time today, many going into the stadium, it's the official ribbon cutting today, and there to cover it, Buffalo Bills reporter for WGR, Sal Capaccio. And Sal, you're the eyes and ears. I'll just ask you open-ended here to begin, and appreciate your time on such a busy day. What was it like? Tell us about the experience there of just not only just seeing the field, and we've seen the pictures, but able to see some other areas. Sal, how are you today?
Pretty good, man. I mean, I'll say the same thing I've kind of said as this process has gone on, and now that you see it come to fruition, I think, really firmly say it's kind of the nicest thing we've had in Buffalo that I've seen in a long time, actually, when you think about the scale, the scope, what it's going to be used for, the amount of people that it's going to impact and affect. But just, it's beautiful. And, you know, I have been to all but 3 current NFL stadiums, and I was asked several times today by people who don't normally cover the team but are in the Buffalo media, how does the stadium compare to those stadiums around the league? And my general answer is it's as nice or nicer than every one of them. I mean, I know that sounds a certain way because I'm sitting here on the radio in Buffalo saying that, right? I get it, but it's true. It is one of the nicest stadiums I've ever been in my life. It is the newest stadium in the entire country, literally today, opening. There's not going to be a newer one for maybe till another couple of years, and everything from the sight lines to the aesthetics to the sound, the acoustics, absolutely amazing. Super cool today.
Yeah, from the fan experience standpoint, let's start there because we see the outdoor pictures, but to be able to kind of walk the concourses, what was that like? If you get a chilly evening, let's say, are there areas underneath that you could go warm up? What is it going to be like for a fan from that side of things, Sal?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a 75-degree day today, right? So I can't tell you what that experience is going to be like in the middle of winter, but I can tell you that ever since this started, we knew that this stadium was built to have access point for every single person in that stadium to have heat, meaning you can walk somewhere where there's heat. You can walk somewhere where, let's say if you have field club tickets, you can literally go underneath and, behind the Bills bench where the field club is located and the players are going to come out and you can they're going to pass people during halftime. But that's a huge lounge area. It's a bar area. It's a restaurant, whatever. And then if you're just sitting in the 100 or 200 level, you can go up to the top where everything is heated. And underneath, like how you had those heated areas at Oldheimer, but every single seat has access to something like that. So from that experience, that's right. From just watching a game and having a great sight line of everything, it's pretty amazing. So SoFi in LA is a really beautiful venue. But I call it a venue because that's what it is. It's like an entertainment venue. It's an entertainment complex. It's not a football stadium. They play football there. It's used for everything. For example, they're having swimming at SoFi Stadium in the Olympics. They're going to put a pool in there, right? So this is a football stadium. That's the difference. Like when you walk in there, all the cool things you get at all these new stadiums and the suites and the sites and the amazing, the architecture. I mean, the architecture blows you away because you kind of have to learn a little bit about it, but a lot of it pays homage to Buffalo, like the grain elevators, the old Odd, a lot of things that are like little intricacies you wouldn't know about. But if you walk around, there's beautiful artwork everywhere. Honestly, like it's to celebrate local artists, it's to celebrate art and to celebrate Buffalo. All those things matter.
Yeah, details matter. I love it. If we can dive into one thing you mentioned there, because I'm trying to picture this. how you mentioned players walking through. Is this kind of like what you would see with the Dallas Cowboys, say, for instance, where players are going to be walking through where fans might be able to see them walking by and then out to the 50-yard line? Is that how we picture this, Sal?
It's exactly right. It's exactly how it's structured. It'll look, when you see those shots in Dallas, and I've been there, this is exactly like Dallas from that standpoint, which is at halftime, the team will run into their locker room so the beginning of the game, they'll come out of the tunnel like you normally would, Old Highmark, but in the corner this time, not the end zone, in the corner of the end zone. But then when halftime comes, they run behind their bench and go down a tunnel. Okay? That tunnel is basically part of the field club. It's just one way there where there's a little bit of separation. When they come back out, all the people who are down there have access to field club. And if you sit in the field club seats, like C109, C110, 111, I think those are the three sections maybe right there. I could be wrong. I think those are the three. Mm-hmm. Like if you bought PSLs and season tickets there, you'll have access to go down there. And then you can stand there. And then when the players come back out, they'll literally be walking by you, high-fiving you. Like, it's not a wall separating you. It's like a waist-high glass.
That's something there, and I'm sure that'll make for some great television. From the player standpoint, and I understand that you really can't take pictures, but I don't know if you can describe. I'm assuming you got to see the new Bills locker room. Is that finished up? What is that going to be like for those players, Sal?
It's a state-of-the-art locker room. When you see on social media these colleges that have these incredible locker rooms that they're like using for recruiting tools, and someone puts out like the LSU locker room or Oregon's locker room, and you're like, come on, are you kidding me? Look at all that NIL donor money. Look what these kids have. Like, that's what this looks like. It's super spacious. If you go in the Bills locker room now, as I know you've been in there, you kind of have to navigate around. It's beautiful, but you have to navigate around a little bit, a corner here, a corner there. This is not like that. You walk in, you either go left or right, and it's basically 30 yards right, 30 yards left, let's say. I'm just guessing, maybe 40 yards. And it's probably about 100-yard space, actually. And all the lockers are basically facing each other, surrounding each other in a kind of a square, right? A circular, but a square where, because it's not a circular locker room. And then every seat they can pull up, and they have so many amenities there with their outlets, and they can put their cleats under or jerseys, whatever. And on top of that, the cool part for me is, if you look at the top, the lighting, like today, it was lit up red and blue, like on the top. They can change it to any color they want. If the Bills are wearing white, they will have white lighting in that locker room. If they're blue, they'll have blue. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's like you said, everything that we're not used to seeing, but this is ours here. Sal, when you're walking through, is everything done yet, or do they still need to kind of complete some things? Like, give us I know, like, hey, here, ribbon cutting here, but how complete is the stadium at this point?
There's still areas that are under construction, but if you went to a game right now as a fan, you would not notice. I mean, I'm assuming that being said, like, the concession area isn't fully operable yet. You know what I mean? Like, there's still, because that's food and beverages that they'll be putting in. We got months before that, but they did have like makeshift to show you today, for example. But it's done. I mean, like, things you wouldn't notice, but we did, would be like elevators, in certain parts of the down, like underneath the stadium, as we're walking from place to place, like some parts of like the press box, different rooms up there that they're still working on, but that's not the fan experience. So if you're going as a fan, I think you would think that everything is completely completed.
That's fantastic. Sal, one thing, and I want to see what this is going to look like. The Buffalo Bills on natural grass, and you get a September afternoon against the Chargers and the Patriots. We've got to look forward to that, how that's going to look. Just curious as to why kind of the outskirts there, they went with the turf. Is that just, hey, like, we know we're going to have bad weather here at some point, so let's make sure that, at least the players on the sideline have something good to stand on. I'm just curious. I don't think there's any other kind of setup in the league that does it like that, correct?
Oh, no, there's several of them actually now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of the new thing. Like, Baltimore does that. I think Kansas City does that now. I think Cleveland, Pittsburgh, I think they all have it like that now. Basically, where the field is grass, but the sidelines is turf. That's kind of something that happened several years ago in the league, and a lot of stadiums and teams are going to that model now. So for that exact reason, though, why does everybody have to get completely wet and muddy on the sidelines, right? Let's keep the sidelines. It's field maintenance, too. It just helps out with the field maintenance for everybody involved. It's just less of that type of thing. There is one square patch, though, on the sideline that is still grass, and that is so the kicker and punter can warm up before going on the field and they get the feel of the natural grass.
Sal, the stadium is something we're looking forward to as we have a few more minutes with you. I just got to ask you a few questions about the team as we're kind of in this down period, right? And we're waiting around until camp July 29th. It'll be the first practice at Fisher. Like, what are some of the bigger kind of storylines in your mind entering this camp for the Buffalo Bills? I guess let's just kind of start with defense and the question marks, things that we're going to be looking forward to when we see the team back in Fisher here over a month from now.
Yeah, I think there's a real interesting situation at linebacker next to Terrell Bernard now that we know that Dorian Williams is injured and he missed quite a bit of OTAs and minicamp. With an injury. He was on crutches. We saw him walking around the facility. They're hoping he'll be back for training camp. There's no guarantee. So that opens the door for Caleb Elam-Zor, a rookie, to come in and maybe start. And I think that's really an interesting storyline going into this year. The Bills have had young linebackers who made careers out of starting early. Matt Milano, Tremaine Edmonds, even Terrell Bernard. This could be another one in that regard. I think another interesting storyline is cornerback opposite Christian Benford. There are a lot of people who believe that second-round pick David Igmanosin, IGB, is going to challenge Max Harrison for that starting job because they chose him. This regime did. Max Harrison was a pick under, Sean McDermott when it comes to the old regime when you say it that way. But I still think Max Harrison, I loved what I saw from him in OTAs and minicamp. I don't think he's going away without a fight, that's for sure. And I think the Bills still, would have him right now as the starter if camp would open up today, and then we'll see where it goes. But certainly I think that they do like David Igmanosin because that's why they drafted him in the second round. And then, on offense, we know they have, a top offense, and Josh Allen is still there, and the league's leading rusher James Cook is still there. And what does the receiving core look like with DJ Moore sprinkled in now, right? I mean, like, to see him actually out there on the field catching passes from Josh Allen is going to be interesting. And I think the overall picture of Joe Brady just running practices and, being the head coach, that matters. And, Gene, I mean, out there in Rochester, it's a very short camp this year. So, they're only going to be out there for, 6 practices out of Fisher, then 1 back here in Buffalo. And then they stay here at Orchard Park for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, we feel like we're always on borrowed time when it comes to training camp, but I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to ask you about the future camp. Just enjoy it this year. Last one for you, Sal, because where we see all these pictures of the new stadium, and granted, nobody's allowed across the street, but I have mixed emotions whenever I see a part of the old stadium kind of coming down. Like, I knew this was going to happen, but to see the M&T Club, the old press box, kind of that's gone now, Sal. Just kind of your thoughts there, because I know you're kind of a sentimental guy too.
Yeah, I mean, everything. I took a picture. I tweeted out a whole bunch of pictures and video today from the tour, and people can find that at Sal Sports. And one of the ones I took was when you're inside the new stadium, you can see the old stadium across the street, and it's still standing, what's left of it. And it's just kind of surreal to think about that. And I'll say juxtaposition of where you are between the two, right? And how that stadium served for so long and so many great memories. And now you look at it, right? And I mean, you look where you are and like, oh my gosh, look what they built here. And yeah, it's sentimental. And the press box and, the radio booth, the Van Miller broadcast booth, it's just a lot of great times, and, things change. And a lot of times, I mean, heck, my son is 12 years old, and I say all the time, like, I wish time wasn't flying so fast. People say that all the time about their kids. I don't think it's any different with this. Like, we're going to hold on to those memories for a long time, but we're going to evolve with the change, and it's going to be a lot of great things about the change. And I think people are going to really, really be super impressed and love when they first view and go to New Highmark Stadium. It's pretty incredible.
Give him a follow at Sal Sports. Sal, always appreciate the time. Look, knock on wood. Hey, next time we talk to you is St. John Fisher University. What do you say?
You got it, buddy. I'll be there.
All right, thanks, Sal. Sal Capaccio, on a busy day, giving us a few minutes here today. Yeah, I can't wait to go in there. And the idea that, okay, here's some artwork. This is a point that other people are bringing too, that the actual sound system is something that it was so outdated in the old stadium that, okay, what is he saying? Or you can't hear. You can hear the music, certainly. We can all, if you want to, belt out that song when the Bills have it wrapped up. What's that song, Tim? I forget.
The Killers.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, kind of strange.
I don't know the name of it, honestly. I'm blanking on it, but I know that Destiny is calling somebody. Mr. Brightside. There we go. Wow, it's not football season.
That you know why? Because it's right. We're a little out of football season. I'm sure Mr. Brightside is going to make its way across the street. Last call is for you. We have topics today. And what the great thing about doing kind of a live show like this, thinking, all right, we're going to talk a lot about the Sabres. And then, oh, no, this Brandon Sorsby thing comes right across. And then
it is football season after all.
It is football season. And, hey, we're able to line up Sal the last second. And it was great to talk to Sal and kind of get his thoughts on the stadium as well. And now this is where we turn it over to you. You can give us a call, 585-866-4326. Gene Battaglia here, WGR Rochester.
You're in the Sports Bar with Rochester's home for live sports and the best sports talk anywhere. The Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
Didn't mean to ignore the World Cup today. There's a lot of other things just going on. Right now, minute 80, Portugal is up on Uzbekistan 4-0. As I think, who would have been like kind of the storylines here? How about the Norwegian fans? When I saw this yesterday, like, oh, they take over Times Square, I'm like, this is fake. Apparently it's not fake. Like, they were out there last night doing with their own team, the Row. I'm like, that's actually kind of cool when you get a team and a fan base kind of, one together like that. So we got that to talk about. We can certainly, if you want to, talk about the NBA draft. Tonight, Washington, Utah, Memphis, Chicago, the Clippers. That's your top five. As Milwaukee giving up pick 13 there. Or they're getting pick 13, I should say, from Miami as part of that Antetokounmpo trade. 585-866-4326. That is the phone number. And in the middle of all this, hey, the NHL released their preseason schedule today. Where, like, why would they do this? It's less than 3 months away. This has to be the shortest offseason, right? Because the NBA is not playing preseason games in September. Like, this is crazy. And the idea when we were joined by Joe Yurden that we will have regular season hockey in September this year. I don't know if it's going to fall that way for the Sabres. Sabres, the 4 preseason games are this. At Pittsburgh, September 21st. Following night, home against Columbus. September 24th at Detroit. And Saturday, the 26th, home against Pittsburgh. So they really don't want a preseason. Why? Hey, what's a really short drive here? Pittsburgh, Columbus, Buffalo, you're a cluster there. Ta-da.
There it is.
There it is. At least they didn't pick Toronto, but they could do Toronto, Ottawa for sure if you kind of broke that all down. If there's something that's completely meaningless, if you thought the NFL preseason is meaningless, like preseason hockey, which this is my annual take, the evergreen take, Tim. Ready? What's coming? What's coming when it comes to preseason hockey? Give us back our preseason game here in the Flower City. I'd have to look through, like, how many, preseason games actually get farmed out to their American Hockey League. I'm guessing
very
not much.
few.
I'm going to guess 0 at this point. Like,
It's been a long time. It's been, 20 years? 04-ish?
No. It was like 14, 13, somewhere around there. And it was because the Blue Cross Arena is not set to NHL standards. Blah, 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 blah. And all right, whatever at this point.
I remember a Boston game here, and I remember a Devils game here. I think one was a regular season when Gianta won the Cup, though.
You had 2 regular season games. You had the Devils, and you had Washington the following year. Devils sold out. Washington was like 8,000. Was there both nights, and I'm like, wow, we're watching. And thank you, Mr. Galisano. Thank you. That was really cool. Little footnote there in Rochester history that, yes, we held a regular season game here in the Flower City. 585-866-4326. So that's the indicator, like, okay, they have the schedule done, and that's all going to come rushing at you in the NHL next week. That'll be, hey, here's the draft, here's the schedule. Maybe the schedule comes after free agency, but it'll all come in one fell swoop. And then also this out of the NHL owners meetings today. Excuse me, Board of Governors. Make sure I get that correct.
Phrasing,
yes. Language, logistics. The idea that expansion is coming to. And so Gary Bettman and the owners have greenlit a study about the feasibility of having an expansion team in either Houston or Austin, Texas, which Houston for a long, long time, that guy Furtada who made his money in restaurants or whatever, he owns the Rockets. He wants a team to fill his arena. I would think, like, at this point, though, wouldn't you want to – is it important for the NHL to still get eyeballs? Like, in other words, is that going to increase the viewership in Houston? Or would they be better served to go plant a flag in a unique market? Kind of like how the NBA has done around the country with, I don't know, Salt Lake City was a unique idea years ago. Memphis, Sacramento. There's another handful of, all right, you're the only major league team here. Why not Austin? Austin's a booming market from everything I read and hear. Like, you don't think the NHL figured this out with Vegas? They led the way on Vegas. So if I had to pick one of the two, why not Austin? They're going to cram Atlanta down our throat. I just get that
For
sense.
a third time.
Yeah, for a third time. But you don't understand. It's different this time. We're going to be out in the suburbs, and there's going to be this big development. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, because
it worked so well the first two.
The idea that, we're just going to go to some. Okay, how about one Rust Belt city in the mix here, or Canadian city? Can we ask for that? Can we? Can we go back to Quebec? The answer is no. Look at how Canada right now is struggling to keep their stars. Like, that's going to be a story, too. Like, hey, Connor Hellebuck got traded to, and ultimately I don't think it's going to be the Sabres. I hope it's the Sabres, but I could see another contender saying, yeah, we'll take him. But it'll be south of the border. Connor Hellebuck's not going to Toronto. He's not going to another Canadian market. It's not just because he played for Team USA. It's because, hey, I want to make more money, and I'm going to dictate where I go here. 585-866-4326 is our number. Great show we had for you today. A little on the show tomorrow as our betting expert, PJ Glasser, who I saw his brother at the stadium going into work. That was on Friday when we were out at the stadium. PJ Glasser, stadium being here at the ESL Ballpark.
Yeah.
PJ Glasser will join us tomorrow on the show where, hey, he's a Wizards fan, assuming the Wizards don't screw this up tonight. We'll get his thoughts on the NBA and the week ahead here when it comes to the betting angle. Paul Hamilton will join us tomorrow. Now, Paul also, you want to give a follow on social too, because he was out at the stadium taking videos and pictures and taking that all in today. Paul Hamilton will join us on the show tomorrow as, who knows, maybe we have a development in a Sabre story beyond the preseason schedule. We can look at that just to kind of see here. 585-866-4326 is the number. If there's one player that I think is becoming kind of the, all right, here's what's wrong with baseball, that's Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker, a player who was playing for a big market in Houston, and then Houston figured, I don't think we're going to re-sign him. Let's trade him. And he goes to the Cubs, a bigger market in Chicago, right? And you would think the Cubs, blue chip organization, right? He ends up signing with the Dodgers.
As one does.
As one does. And the Mets were in on that. Kyle Tucker now, he's got lower back issues. And that's looking like a terrible investment for the Dodgers. Of course, a lot of time to turn this around in a 4-year deal, but he's batting just .234 with 6 home runs. Not exactly a return on investment for the $60 million he's making this year. But you know what? The Dodgers, they can just write it off.
I think they already did.
Any other team that spends $60 and gets .234 and 6 home runs, yeah, that would toast your season, right? Not the Dodgers.
9-game lead in the West.
Tomorrow on
9 times.
Thank you, Tim. Tomorrow, Paul Hamilton, PJ Glasser. Thanks to Sal Capaccio. Thanks to Joe Yerney. Missed both of those. Just find them wherever you get your audio in podcast form. Show up in the Bulldog next year. I'm Gene Battaglia, WGR Rochester.